Now that we've built the message body, we can turn our attention to the image. Let's start by taking a look at the form in register.php. It begins here on line 31. When uploading any type of file from an HTML form, the opening form tag must set the enctype attribute to multipart form data. It's also a good idea to include a hidden input element to limit the size of a file that can be uploaded. So let's just find that hidden input element. It's here on line 60, and the name max file size, all in uppercase with underscores between each word, is a PHP constant, and the value must be specified in bytes. I've specified the equivalent of 1 megabyte here, and this hidden input field must come before the file input field. If it comes after, it will be ignored. And the file input field is here on line 62. Its name is photo, so that's how we'll be able to recognize the uploaded file in the files superglobal array. So let's switch to the script in process.php to check the uploaded file. And we need to do those checks before processing the email message. So let's just scroll down. On line 33, we've got this conditional statement that processes only if there are no errors or missing fields. We need to add some extra space before there. And then to save time, I'm going to copy some code from snippets.txt, which you can find in the exercise files for this video. And I'm just going to take lines 1 to 23, copy them, go back to process.php and paste them in the space that I created. The code that I've just inserted contains 3 sets of conditional statements. The first set of conditional statements, on lines 33 to 39, examines the file's superglobal array for any errors. It starts by checking the size of the file. By default, most servers set the maximum upload size to 2 megabytes, but the form in register.php sets a lower level of just 1 megabyte. If the submitted file exceeds the maximum size specified in the server's PHP configuration, nothing will be uploaded, so the files array will be empty. That's why I'm checking empty first. But if the file is between the server maximum and the maximum specified in the form, the value of files photo error will be 2. In either case, an error message about exceeding the maximum size is assigned to errors photo. If no file was submitted, the error level in the files array will be 4, so a suitable error message is created there. If the file is uploaded successfully, the error level is 0. So if the error level is higher than 0, we know that something else is wrong, so we set a suitable message. The script then checks the MIME type. The permitted types are listed in the permitted array. The MIME type of the uploaded file is contained in the type element of the files array, but that element will be empty if there was an error uploading the file. So the outer conditional statement first checks that type isn't empty. But if type isn't empty, and type is not in the permitted array, we know that we don't have a photo. If that's the case, the inner conditional statement set an appropriate error message. If an error message already exists, it's concatenated at the end, otherwise a standalone error message is created. The last check, on lines 52 to 54, makes sure that the file was genuinely uploaded and that an attacker hasn't tricked the script into exposing one of our system files. It begins by checking that the error level is 0, in other words, there's no problem with the uploaded file, but then it passes files photo temp name to this function isUploadedFile. The temp name element is where the file is stored temporarily until it's moved to another location. But if it's not a genuinely uploaded file, errors photo is set to a suitable error message. But assuming there are no errors, the image can then be embedded in the email message. So let's scroll down to the point just after the message has been initialized. That's here, we're initializing the message on lines 85 to 87. So we need to add some extra space before we have the HTML output there. Normally you would move an uploaded file to somewhere on your server's file system, but there's no need to do so when it's going to be attached to an email. You can simply pass the temp name element of the files array to the Swift attachment from file static method and attach it to the message as was shown in chapter 3. In this case though, the uploaded file is an image that can be embedded in the HTML of the email. So we first need to get the image data from the temporary file. So we'll save that as image data and use file get contents, and then we pass it the files array, the photo element, and then it is the temp name element that we want. Once we've got the image data, we can embed the image using a similar technique to the one used in chapter 4. So we'll save the reference as photo, and then we invoke the message object's embed method, and we pass it Swift image, and rather than from path we need new instance. Then the first argument to new instance will be the image data. The second argument will be the name in the files superglobal array. So that's files photo name. That's the original name of the file on the user's computer. And the third argument we need is the MIME type. Let's just go on to another line. That will be in files photo type. In chapter 4 we used Swift image from file rather than Swift image new instance. You can in fact pass the temp name element of the files array directly to the from file static method. However, this results in the file being embedded with a .tmp file name extension. Getting the image data first like this and using the new instance static method allows you to assign the original file name and specify its MIME type. This makes it much easier for the recipient to save the file as an attachment. So now that we've got a reference to the image as photo, all that remains is to add the HTML to embed the image. And I've got the code for that in snippets.txt. Just copy from line 27 down to the end. And then in process.php we need to go down to find the last part of the HTML content and insert a new line between those last two HTML lines, and then just paste that code in there. And that will embed the image in the HTML version of the email message. On line 141 we're using photo as the source of the image, and then we're using the name that was submitted through the form as the alternative text. And if the recipient's email client doesn't support HTML, the image will be added to the email as an attachment. There's no need to attach it separately. So you've now seen how to attach an uploaded file to an email. There's no need to save it to disk. Let's just go back and take a look at that code. You can simply use the temporary version of the file that's stored in the temp name element of the file's superglobal array. In this case, I've embedded an uploaded image in the HTML, so I used file get contents to extract the image data and then use Swift image new instance to embed the image data with the original file name and MIME type into the HTML. For any other type of file, you can pass the temp name element of the files array to the Swift attachment from file static method and then add it to the message using the attach method. With either type of file though, you should always run a series of checks on the uploaded file, making sure that it was successfully uploaded and is of an acceptable MIME type.